Hey guys, thanks for tuning us in for this 11th episode of Season 2 of Good Questions with Cameron Dole. This episode brought to you in part by Smiley's Breezy Vapes at 313 Falcon Road here in Altus. Special guests on this episode include Abigail Harrison, better known as Astronaut Abby. We'll talk about the new book Dream Big, How to Reach for Your Stars. We'll also visit with actor Aldis Hodge about his lead role in the movie Brian Banks. This is a flashback interview taking you back to August 2019. We'll also share another flashback visit with Luke from For King & Country when they released the single God Only Knows back in March 2019. And our final guest will be country star Mark Chesnutt in an interview from August 2016. His then current single, Oughta Miss Me By Now. Of course, if you would, please take the time to subscribe, drop a like, comment, leave some feedback, and of course, share with your friends. Had the chance this morning to visit with Abigail Harrison, also known as Astronaut Abby. We talk about her new book, Dream Big, How to Reach Your Stars. We also talk about what her goals are for the coming couple years as well. First off, Abigail, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me on.
Now, Abby, where did the dream of space exploration, or maybe just dreaming big, obviously the name of the book, when did dreaming big? When did you decide that? When did folks not hamper you with that? I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yes, that's a great question. My dream of spaceflight and of eventually, hopefully, going to Mars started when I was about 3 or 4 years old. It's one of my earliest memories is of standing outside at night, looking up at the night sky, and just being awestruck, having so much wonder for the universe and having all these questions running through my head, and knowing in that moment that I wanted to be a part of exploring and discovering all of the answers to these questions about our solar system and our universe as a whole. And as I got older, I learned more about space exploration, and my dream grew and developed. And I decided that Mars was my passion, and that was the goal that I was going to set my sights for. I was really fortunate because when I was about 11 years old, my mom realized that I'd been talking about space for my entire life and about wanting to be an astronaut. And she realized that maybe it was a real dream that I had. Maybe it wasn't just a childhood fancy or something that I would grow out of in time. And she sat down with me and gave me what she calls when she tells this story, she calls it the come to Jesus talk, where where essentially she gave me the cold hard facts about the difficulty of this dream. She laid out the numbers for me and told me, X number of people have become astronauts. Like that's such a small percentage of the population. It's an extremely difficult field. And she essentially tried to discourage me from it. And the reason that I say that I'm really lucky that this happened is because she told me the realities of things really early on, and it didn't discourage me. Instead, it caused me to form a plan to figure out what it was that I would need to do and to start early to achieve the goals, the smaller goals along the way to become an astronaut. And when I showed my mom that, and when I started to demonstrate to her the realities that I had for this dream that to her and to many other people seemed impossible, she actually changed her mind about it, and she became my biggest advocate and supporter along the way. And now at 23, I'm able to say that I've actually crossed off a lot of those initial goals that I had that I said would help me to eventually become an astronaut. Things like having achieved a pilot's license, having advanced experience in scuba diving and in skydiving, things like learning multiple languages like Spanish, Russian, and Mandarin Chinese, having research experience, both field research in Siberia and in an astrobiology Mars-focused lab, all of these kinds of things that have set me up well because I got started early, because I was focused, and because I had a lot of support to chase after what some people would call a somewhat crazy dream.
And in the time we're living in, Abby, obviously folks are dealing with hardships, dealing with frustrations, depressions as well. And to be able to maybe put a smile on somebody's face and also maybe bolster those dreams that they've had. I mean, how cool is that on a personal level for you?
It is. It is really cool. And it's something that I started writing Dream Big, How to Reach for Your Stars, my book, before the pandemic happened. And there were some things about it that were at first seemed unfortunate. Launching a book during the difficult time that we're having right now wasn't the way that I anticipated things going. But what I can say is that I don't think there has ever been a better time for this book. And I don't think that it has ever been more suited to the need that I see people having right now, which is, like you said, to have a smile put on people's face and to have them start to believe in their big dreams again. And I really, really hope that everyone who's able to pick up a copy of this book, whether it's picking up their own copy from an independent bookseller or ordering it online or getting it from their local library, is able to use it to rekindle some of that hope that I think many of us are looking for right now, and to really take control of chasing after their dreams.
And you talked about the continuation of chasing after that dream, and Abby, what kind of have you put any specific goals annually for reaching that big dream? Absolutely.
So currently I am working as a researcher at Harvard Medical School, where I work in the Jackson lab, which focuses on immunology and molecular biology. And this is a really exciting thing for me to be doing. I'll be doing it for about the next year, because medicine is integral to space. It's integral both to, and our understanding of immunology as well. It's integral both to the future of space exploration. And it's also one of the big things that space exploration can do for us here on Earth is medical research that happens in space is incredibly important to changing the way that we do medicine here on Earth as well. And so I feel really lucky and fortunate to be doing that for this next year. After this year is up, my goals for the next couple years are to start a PhD program and to gain my PhD, to continue training in flight. So I'm a pilot, and I'm currently working towards and hopefully the next year to have my instrument rating for my pilot's license. And then I'm going to continue to do science communication, both through my book Dream Big, through my social media channels where I post a lot of engaging content. And who knows, my team at the Mars Generation has also recently been pitching a science education show. So you might see me on your TV screen on Netflix or Discovery or one of those someday as well.
Well, that's good stuff. Well, again, Abigail Harrison, lovingly referred to as Astronaut Abby, the book Dream Big, How to Reach for Your Stars. I want to make sure and let our listeners know not only where they can find more information about the book, but also those social media platforms you mentioned.
Yeah, so you can find my nonprofit, The Mars Generation, at themarsgeneration.org and on social media on all the platforms as The Mars Generation. You can find me, Abigail Harrison, or as I go by, Astronaut Abby, at astronautabby.com or on all the different social media platforms as Astronaut Abby. I'm everywhere. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Twitter. You name it, I'm probably there.
I'm going to be the first TikTok sent from Mars. I can see it now.
That would be great. Yeah.
Well, Astronaut Abby, great to visit with you this morning. Have a great weekend, and hopefully we can catch up again real soon, my friend.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I look forward to that.
Thanks to our sponsor, Smiley's Breezy Vapes, 313 Falcon Road here in Altus. They've got red basket specials, a lot of times on disposables plus other items. They've got e-juices, plus they've got pods, a selection of disposable flavors, the largest selection in Southwest Oklahoma. For more information, visit them online, smileysbreezyvapes.com. Had a couple of cancellations this morning, so we delved into the archives, and one of my favorite interviews, this one takes you back a couple of years, August 2019. He had the lead role in the movie Brian Banks that was just being released. Here's our visit with Aldis Hodge. First off, Aldis, thanks so much for your time this morning, brother.
No, thank you for your time, brother. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you.
And excited about the new movie coming out in theaters on the 9th. Brian Banks, and what was it like to be involved in a project like this?
Oh, man, it was a very humbling experience, brother, because Brian was actually on set the entire time, and just getting to meet and know this brother, know his journey, and really to know how he came out of it with so much light and positivity. You know, it, like, for me, was something incredible to learn from, because he doesn't carry any darkness, you know what I mean? And that's what I love so much about the film, is that it's so inspiring in that way to teach people how to be able to do that, you know?
And in the times that we live in, I don't think there's a more poignant story that folks can get the opportunity to see part of is the new movie as well.
Oh, yeah. This is a great time for this movie to come out. You know, one thing we get to understand with this movie from his experience is empathy, mercy, and how to be grateful for so many things. But you know, the thing that some audience members have come out of this film with, which I think is like the highest compliment, is they come out with a sense of activism. They come out saying, wow, we didn't know it was really like this. How can we do something? What can we do? People get to learn what other people's real reality is when it comes to dealing with the judicial system. When it comes to the nature of false accusations, it shows people the due diligence that should be done in terms of trying to figure out the facts. And in Brian's case, no one was really working on his behalf, you know, from the judicial side, from the legal side. So this is, I think, a great, as much as it is an inspirational tool, it is as equally an informative and sort of educational tool. And I love the fact that people really come out with a drive and a sense of activism to want to change things for the better.
And as an actor, how much pride do you take in an opportunity to maybe open up dialogue or get people to actually think and maybe speak? Because I subscribe to that the way we make change is one-on-one and person to person as well, and conversation starts that.
Yeah, I take great pride. Honestly, selfishly, I do, because you know this has been several years ago now that I sort of, in terms of looking at my art, looking at my artistic choices, said I wanted to make effective art that has a potential for effective cultural change or a conversation that pushes a progressive note a little bit further. And this is absolutely all of that. You know, this is something that inspired me personally, and I wanted to share that inspiration with the world. There's so many people right now who don't really have a voice in this space, and because of Brian and his bravery and his courage, he's been able to set up his own platform to have a voice for so many. Because he still actually actively works with the California Innocence Project, the CIP, who he engaged the services of when he was exonerating himself. But, you know, he serves to that. He has that voice. And for us to be able to be an asset to his purpose is just one of the grandest honors I could ever ask for as an artist, honestly.
And you've won awards. You've been nominated for so many other things as well. What is there a role that you really take great pride in, or you look back on with great fondness?
This one, man. Absolutely. This is well, no, I'm serious, honestly. I mean, look, from a surface level as an actor, it checks off a couple of boxes. This is the first time I've had this sort of responsibility to be the title character of a film, the lead of a film. I've been in this business 30 years. This is the very first time I've had this opportunity. So I think that's really, you know, for me, a great challenge, because it taught me a lot about who I am and stepping up to the plate as an artist. But beyond that, man, it's such a validating and vindicating story when it comes to knowing oneself and knowing one's purpose. The thing that I love the most about Brian is that he never stopped fighting for himself, because he knew his purpose, he knew his value. When everybody else didn't want to see it, didn't want to acknowledge it, he knew his value and he stuck to it. There's so many people out here who are bright lights that sort of allow others to dim their light. And even though Brian had some dark days, he never allowed other people to dim his light. And I think it's such an example of how to walk through life. He always says, don't judge me by what I've been through, judge me by how I dealt with it. And if we could inspire other people to deal with some of their issues with a little bit more light and happiness along the journey, I think job well done,
That's right. Now, if folks want to find out more information about the movie and then obviously everything that you've got going on social media-wise as well.
Oh, yeah, so check it out. Friday, August 9th, we are hitting theaters. Check us out online at Brian Banks. Brian Banks actually has a website where you can go check out all of his activity. He has a book out right now called What Set Me Free. And I definitely encourage snatching up that book to get a few of those little bits and details that, may pop up in the movie and some things that may not pop up in the movie. But it'll feed you the full story, man. It'll be a great thing to have before going to see this fantastic film. And as far as me, people can find me on Instagram. That's where I'm most active. It's just at Aldis_Hodge. And, hit me up. Let me know what you thought about the movie, what you felt about it. And I definitely will hit you back. I'd love to have a conversation. And
Aldis, you talked about being able to notch a couple of things off of the bucket list. What is the next thing that you're hoping to notch off?
Oh, man. Let me see. So I'm attached to two projects right now. One that I've acquired the rights to in order to produce and direct. So that's a notch. There's another project I'm executive producing and starring in. That's a notch. I think either, finish my fantasy epic film, finish writing it and sell it, or jump in some tights and go be a superhero somewhere, if that opportunity ever crosses my path.
That's one you can't turn down.
I mean, yeah, it came my way, man.
That's right. Well, Aldis, again, thank you so much for your time this morning. Looking forward to the new movie Brian Banks nationwide this Friday, August 9th, and check it out in theaters. And again, Aldis, thank you so much for your time this morning, my friend.
Oh, thank you, brother.
Smiley's Breezy Vapes, 313 Falcon Road, sponsor of the podcast today. Be sure and stop in and see them. If they have the largest selection of disposable flavors in Southwest Oklahoma, their doors open. Protective plexiglass masks are required still to cover your nose and your mouth. If you have any questions, give them a call or send them a text at 580-471-VAPE. That's 580-471-8273. Also, while going through the archives, came across this gem. We're hoping to have them back on in the coming weeks. Got a brand new single to talk about. This is 2 singles ago with the release of God Only Knows. From the group For King and Country, here's Luke. Getting some brownie points at home with this one from For King and Country. We've got Luke on the line with us. And first off, Luke, thanks so much for taking the time to visit this morning.
Man, thank you for taking the time, man. We appreciate you fitting us in, man. It's awesome.
Now, when you guys first got started, where did the music originate in your life? I mean, I know this is kind of a family ordeal, kind of, isn't it, Luke?
Yeah. Man, my dad was actually Joel and I, my brother, we make up for King and Country, and we were originally born in Australia, and my dad was actually a concert promoter back there in Australia, and so we grew up going to shows, doing all that, and then on one particular tour, we actually lost my dad. The tour didn't go very well, and my dad lost everything that we had. And so we moved to America and kind of started a new life over there, a new career, and for my dad. And while we were kind of settling into the States, my sister became an artist, and she kind of took off. And so we went out on the road with her, and I was a lighting director. My brother Joel was a stage manager, and so we watched music very much up close and personal from the behind the stage, and so a lot of what we know today is a lot from what we learned out on the road.
Now I'm going to ask you a question. When was the first song that you wrote, and then what is the worst song that you still have to take credit for?
The first song I wrote was just in my parents'. One of the rooms in my parents' house that we had put a little studio in, and that might be the first and the worst song I've ever written. Who knows? But yeah, it's kind of crazy when we often joke. People come up and Q&As and interviews like, man, you guys write songs that we just really enjoy and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, well, those are the only songs that you hear. We only play the ones that we want to reveal. for you guys. So, yeah, it's definitely, look, the art form of writing music is really tough. It's a really hard craft, but it kind of keeps you coming back for more, and you kind of fall in love with it and hate it all at the same time.
Now for you, obviously, the family's had a huge influence, and what was it that drove you into the pop side of things, if you will?
Well, man, I think when the kind of going back even to like learning how to write songs, and when the light bulbs went off in my head was when I realized that music is about writing very honestly, and if you write very honestly to you, then usually there's millions of other people just like you that have the chance of resonating with the same things that you've written. And so whether or not that be about, God, whether or not that be the love for my wife, whether or not that be a struggle that's going on, or whether or not that be a story that I heard that I just want to write about to lift up a friend who's going through a difficult time, those are the things that we try to write songs about. And so whether or not that lends us into, I like catchy songs, so that usually lends you probably in more in the pop lane of things. And then as far as the content, it really depends on what's going on inside, kind of inside of our minds to decide what the content will be for that song. But that's kind of, it just feels natural. It feels true. It's not necessarily me saying, I want to write songs that work in this space. It just is who we are.
Now, what do you think about the way that Christian and contemporary music has kind of gone across so many gaps of genres and is reaching new audiences? And for you, being a part of that, what's that like on the personal side to see that happening?
Well, I think that genre of music is a very interesting genre of music, because the only genre of music that is actually a genre based off of its content, not actually its sound. And so it's a very strange thing. Inside of CCM music, you've got hip hop, you've got rap, you've got kind of folk music, you've got pop, you've got all sorts of different things. So in my mind, it's actually helpful that with kind of where music is at today, where it feels like some of the boundaries of genres are breaking down, because it actually enables the music to go further. It enables the music to not be, when you listen to something based off of, off a genre, what you expect to hear, sometimes that clouds your kind of ears, And so nowadays I feel like it's breaking down a little bit, and I think that's actually a really good thing. I think people should be able to listen to music just because they're listening and they decide if they like it or not. I once heard somebody say, there's only two genres of music. There's good music and there's bad music. And I choose to write good music, and hopefully your station, is trying to do the same.
That's right, and we will not release the tapes of the early childhood renditions you were putting out.
Oh, absolutely. We don't want to do that. No, we don't want to do that.
Now, Luke, what was your the feeling for you the first time that you heard one of your songs on the radio, be it Christian radio or wherever it was? What was it like for you to hear one of your tunes playing back to you?
Well, I think that it does actually sound a little bit different. I don't know what type of compressors you guys use and all sorts of different games you play, but it does sound a little bit different. And I think it sounds like, hey, I've worked. Joel and I. People kind of sometimes sit there and they're like, hey, where do these guys come from? And what they don't know is that we basically worked for 6-7 years with basically no success at all. And the first time you hear your song on the radio, you just feel like, man, at least this is doing something. I mean, the intent obviously is when you write a song for it to go out, and radio is one of those ways, obviously, that music can go out. And so it felt, I think, a little fulfilling. Kind of like, hey, this is what I've been telling my friends for years that I was working on with, as I said, zero success. It just feels a little bit like, hey, at least I wasn't fully crazy, and let's see where this journey can go.
Luke, as you move forward, what's it been like for you to see the lives that have been touched by the music and see firsthand when the fans come face to face with you, telling you what your music has meant in their lives?
Well, I think that's the reason why artists write songs, is because you paint a picture because you've got this vision of something that you think, hey, I just got to get this out. And I learned a very, very valuable lesson early on, and that is, if you write a song that's special to you, there's a good chance it's going to be special to somebody else. And so when I write a song about some of the things that's taken place in my life, and somebody else comes up and says, man, that's become my life song, you don't really know that person at all, but yet somehow you feel like you do, because music's brought you together in kind of a special way. And I think it's the most fulfilling thing that you get to do. There's something inherently spiritual about music that I can't ever quite explain. It kind of like bypasses your head and goes straight to your heart, because there's things that can be achieved in music that a great motivational speech could never do, or a preacher could never achieve. And that there's something really special about that. And so, when we do shows, like we'll do a show tonight, and you get to look out and you actually get to see the people's faces, and you get to see that taking place. Man, that's kind of what it's all about, and that's something that I'll never, hopefully I'll never take for granted, because it truly is remarkable.
Luke, I always want to make sure and let our listeners know about tickets and any of that other upcoming information they can find, website, social media, and all that as well. Yeah,
man, I think that keyandcountry.com, that's the website, and then obviously, you search for Key and Country on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and all that sort of stuff. That hopefully should pop up, so we hopefully can find you there. All right. Well, Luke, it's been great to get to know you this morning. Again, thank you for your time this morning. Hey, man, I appreciate it. Thanks very much.
Again, this episode brought to you by Smiley's Breezy Vapes. Check them out on Facebook, also on their website, smileysbreezyvapes.com. They have the largest selection of disposable flavors in Southwest Oklahoma. If you're new to vaping, if you're a vaping legend, like I like to say, they have all of the equipment, all of the know-how, and they'll also make you smile while you're there as well. It's Smiley's Breezy Vapes, 313 Falcon Road. Check them out online. And our final visit from the archives, one of my favorite visits with one of my favorite country artists as well, Mark Chesnutt. This one takes you back to 2016. His current single then was Oughta Miss Me By Now. Here's that visit with Mark Chesnutt. First off, Mark, it's been a while, but good to talk to you again this morning.
Yeah, it has been too long.
It has been.
You, brother.
I know. Well, just like I told you a minute ago, running between two studios all morning long, and luckily one morning show's over, so now I don't have to do any running anymore.
Well, you sound out of breath, so you better set a while.
there you go. Now, Mark, I know whenever we went on vacation, every time I drive through Beaumont, I think of you. We stopped at a gas station and had to send you a text because I absolutely love the new single. And what's this new project been like for you in the making?
Oh, it's been a long process, but I enjoyed every second of it, man. I've been on the major labels so long, and even some of the independent labels, that people were trying to, I had to listen to everybody's opinions and what they wanted me to do. It was their money, so they had to listen to them. But this album, it was, I recorded it with my buddy Jimmy Ritchie, my producer, and me and him been working together since I left Sony back a long time ago. He's been we did a lot of independent projects together, and recorded some great stuff. We had Saving the Honky Tonks, which I think is a great album. And we've done a lot of other things that people's probably never heard of, and probably really don't need to hear of it. But he believes in what I do. Believes in real traditional country music. That's where his heart is, and that's where mine is. And so that's what we did. We took our time, and when he started his own label, Row Entertainment, then we just did what we always do. We just go in there and do country music. It took us a long time because of scheduling and all that and all the legal stuff. But I personally picked every one of these songs that I recorded. So I didn't have anybody telling me what to do and what not to do. And I think it worked. I think it turned out to be one of the best things I've ever done.
Yeah, I know. I like I said, I texted you whenever we were down by Beaumont, and I said I liked the single, and the text I received back was that you absolutely loved the entire project. And what's that like after, like you said, you worked with labels and that always tried to tell you what you should be doing? How much satisfaction do you get out of knowing that you got to put out the album that you really wanted?
Feels like it ought to feel. Feels good tonight. That's what I thought. When I was a kid, I thought that's how Nashville was. I thought music business was like that. I thought you signed with a record label and they put the money behind you and promoted you, and you went out there and you did the songs you wrote and you did what you did best. But it's not like that. As soon as you get to Nashville, they start trying to change you as soon as you walk through the door of the record company. But it ain't like that now, I guess. I don't know. I know these guys now that I talk to, the new people, the new singers, the new big stars. They'll come up to me and tell me that they wish that they could do what I do, which is what I want to do. They want to have creative freedom too, and thank God, after all these years, I've got it. And I wasn't trying to get on the charts or anything with this CD. I was not trying to hit the charts or win an award or anything like that. I just wanted to put out a new album, a new bunch of songs that my fans have been asking for several years. They've been coming up to me in autograph lines and meet and greets. Even my friends, personal friends have called me up and said, man, when we going to get some real good country chestnut back again, And so that's why we did it. I made this album for my fans, for people that like our kind of music.
That's right. And the single we were talking about, Oughta Miss Me By Now, why don't you tell us a little bit about what it was about this one that told you this is the one that you needed to release first?
Yeah, that was one of the first songs I picked. I'd been listening to CDs and emails for about 2 years when we put the word out that I was recording again. And man, I started getting flooded with songs, and I was so happy. Couldn't believe it. And a lot of these songs were written 10, 15, 18, 20 years ago even, that were never recorded, or that were recorded but it was never released and nobody ever heard much of. And so it's one of the first songs I picked, because I thought when the song started, the guy singing the demo sounded a lot like George Strait, and I thought, that sounds just like something George Strait would have done back in the 80s. And being the gigantic George Strait fan that I am, that's why I recorded that song.
Like you said, being a big George Strait fan and obviously a fan of real country music as well, what does it mean to you when, like you said, the newer artists come and talk to you about the music that you brought in, and it kind of inspired a generation as well? And do you ever think about that, kind of what you have done for the country music genre as well?
Well, for a long time, man, I lost confidence. Because I thought that, my type of music was dead and gone. And I couldn't get a major deal anymore. I couldn't get airplay anymore on anything we put out. We tried, and I was still hearing some of my old songs on some of the classic country stations, and even some of the, big stations, mainstream stations. I was still hearing some of my old songs, but people started asking me, was I retired? Was I still singing? And I was still singing. I was touring 100 dates a year. I always have, never stopped, 26 years. And it kind of hurt my feelings a little bit. And then I start meeting these guys. You know, some of them I'm even opening for now because they've got big hit records on the radio now. You know, they're number ones. They're in the top 10 or whatever. And very popular. And I'll open for them now. And they'll come up to me and talk to me and come up on the bus and visit with me. And they say, I grew up listening to your music, and, you know, you're one of my heroes, and I know all your songs. And you're the reason I'm doing this. And that really inspires me. It makes me feel like I accomplished something, because that's how I always was about music. I always grew up listening and singing, trying to sing like George Jones and Merle Haggard and Hank Jr., Hank Sr. and Waylon and Willie and Conway and Charlie Pride. You know, I love them guys so much that I just, that's who I tried to sound like. And to have somebody come up and tell me that the first album they ever had when they were 8 years old was Too Cold to Home. Or, you know, the worst thing is, well, it's not a worst, it's a good thing, but it kind of makes me feel old. But somebody comes up to me and says, yeah, man, you know, they're in their 20s. They said, man, my first album that I bought of yours was Almost Goodbye or you know, Long Necks and Short Stories, something that came Long Necks and Short Stories, dang, then it makes me feel old, but at the same time, it makes me feel appreciated.
That's right. And Mark, I want to give you a chance to let people know where they can find the music also, and where they can keep up with you online. And are you big on Twitter as well?
I don't do that much. You know, I'll go on there every now and then, but I'm not a big fan of that. I have other things to do than to sit around and play with a computer. I'm one of the old school guys. I still ain't figured a lot of that out yet. But I have a guy that runs that part for me that I stay in contact with every single day. And you know, there's been a lot of people. One thing I don't like about that is a lot of people go on there and say they're me. And, you know, they say things that they shouldn't say that I would never say. I guess you've heard about that, too. You know, a lot of people go on there and pretend to be me. But the best way to find out what's going on with me is to go to my official website. It's markchesnutt.com. That's all you got to do. And it will direct you right to my website. You can see all my tour dates. You can buy my CD. The new CD is for sale on there, and you can, if you order it, you'll get it and it'll be signed. I'll sit there and sign CDs all day on the bus. That's all I do. I'll watch Andy Griffith and I'll sign autographs, sign CDs all day long. And you order that, it may take a few weeks to get it because we're getting so many, you know, we're kind of backed up a little bit on that because we're getting so many, we can only get so many CDs at a time. But if you do that, you'll get it. You'll get the hard CD. You'll get the real thing signed. You can download it off iTunes and all the other outlets you can get it from on the computer, online. You can also come to my show and get it. We have them for sale at the shows, along with a lot of my old albums. So yeah, it's available. You know, stores don't stock them anymore like they used to. You have to.
You got to search a little more for them, huh?
Yeah, you do. I mean, unless you carry Underwood, then you can find your CD in grocery stores. You know, my stuff's a little hard to find, but it's very easy once you go online and find it. Best way to get it is to come to my show.
Well, there you go. There you go. Well, Mark, before we wrap up, I wanted to have you just quickly introduce the new single, and that's how we'll wrap it up this morning, sir.
Hey, I want to tell you that I'm real happy that y'all like this song, and I'm real happy that Cameron's playing it for me. This is my new CD. Oh, by the way, it's Mark Chesnutt. This is from my new CD called Tradition Lives, and the single is called Oughta Be Mine Now.
Thanks again for joining for this episode of Good Questions with Cameron Dole. If you ever have a comment, question, or anything else you'd like to know, find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at GQ with Cam. If you'd like to help out in the funding for this podcast, feel free to click the support tab and follow the instructions. If you have a special guest idea, you can email me, gqwithcam@gmail.com. Again, thanks to Brandon Allen for coming up with the tune for us. We're going to let him play us out. Hope you guys have a great weekend. I'll be back with episode 12 coming up on Monday.